So it's my pleasure to welcome you to this event. The ECPR gives out quite a few prizes and awards, but none are more important than our Lifetime Achievement Award, which is presented on a biennial basis to a scholar who has made an outstanding contribution to European political science. Launched almost 2 decades ago in 2005, there have been 10 prize winners to date. So the jury for this year's awards were the following: myself in my then capacity as ECPR chair, Christa Schauer, who was a former chair of the ECPR, Hans Asenbaum, who was the winner of our 2022 Rising Star Award, Patricia Carrera, the ECPR official representative at Aston University, and Tanya Monroe, the ECPR director. So as you might expect for a prestigious prize of this kind, we had a stellar list of nominees to consider, and this was by no means an easy task. So after some discussion, we found it impossible to separate 2 candidates, and therefore we decided to make a joint award to Myra Marx Ferree and Richard Katz. Professor Myra Marx Ferree is being given this award in recognition of her pioneering work in establishing the subfield of gender and politics, women, gender and sexuality studies in European political science, and her path-breaking role in bringing discussions on intersectionality into political science. The other recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award is Professor Katz. This is in recognition of his outstanding scholarship in comparative politics, his major contributions to fostering international collaboration, and his significant leadership roles in the profession. There's much more to be said about these awardees, obviously, and we'll hear in a moment from their nominators who can fill out a bit more of the details. But please, may I be the first, at least, to congratulate Myra and Dick as such worthy and deserving winners of this important award. So we're going to take each of our awardees in turn. We're going to hear first from the nominators in each case, and then we'll invite each prize winner to say a few words in response.
Hello, my name is Silke Roth, and I'm Professor of Sociology at the University of Southampton in the UK. My colleague Ingi Usman, the nominator, had asked me and Katrin Zippel, Einstein Strategic Professor at the Free University of Berlin, to help her draft the nomination letter. Because I know Myra the longest, she has also asked me to introduce Myra. I came to know Myra in 1990 when I was based in Berlin and looking for a PhD supervisor. Myra was just on her way to Berlin for research on the German women's movement funded by the German Marshall Fund and asked me to become her research assistant, even before becoming her PhD student at the University of Connecticut. I have always been in awe of Myra's tremendous productivity, creativity, and insight. We have nominated Myra because she has made seminal contributions to European political science as path-breaking researcher, intellectual leader, and exceptional teacher. I never missed a single class. Myra has contributed to the transformation of political science by rethinking politics, political participation, policymaking, and political discourse, inserting a feminist and intersectional perspective. In fact, Myra employed an intersectional perspective, taking into consideration how gender, class, race, and other markers of difference intersect long before the concept intersectionality became a buzzword. Myra has done extensive comparative research not only on Germany and the United States, but also on Eastern and Western European women's movements and the role of the European Union for feminist mobilization. She has highlighted the importance of the everyday politics and care work, and the fact that research on state repression needs to be supplemented with analysis of soft repression in everyday interactions through stigma, ridicule, and silencing. Her multi-level approach examines how politics and policies are gendered at the personal, organizational, national, and transnational levels. Myra is an outstanding mentor and collaborator. And when we asked for support for this nomination on a Friday afternoon, by Monday morning, we had received over 30 enthusiastic responses from political scientists based in 15 different countries working on European politics. Had we widened the invitation to other disciplines and regions of the world, without a doubt, we would have heard from hundreds of supporters. Congratulations, Myra, on your wonderful achievements and this Lifetime Award.
I am simply amazed and honored to be granted this recognition, particularly because I'm not, in a technical sense, either a political scientist or a European. I've done my work in the spaces between these two identities. Not only is studying social movements a subfield that is largely understood as part of political science in Europe and part of sociology in the US, but looking at gender as a matter of politics demands an interdisciplinary lens. My own kind of political sociology, one that looks at gender relations as matters of intentional projects of political transformation across multiple institutions, actually doesn't fit in either discipline. So I'm greatly honored to be officially adopted into the political science community with whom I share so much. I strongly thank the committee that has welcomed me and honored me in that way. Moreover, I've had the pleasure of doing my research often in Europe and in and on Germany. And as a result, I've had the exceptional good fortune of finding my way into a vibrant community of European scholars of gender and politics who share my taste for comparative studies, my commitment to taking an intersectional perspective on inequality, and my love of a good meal and a nice walk. I want to thank the specific group of nominators that represent this wider community of feminist political scientists. I know and appreciate the enormous impact that this community has had on my work. So I am deeply honored that they make a case for saying that I have influenced them as well. And finally, I especially want to thank the many scholars who have created opportunities for a vibrant and inclusive transatlantic community of feminist scholars to emerge in the networks of ECPR. Centrally, of course, this has been in ECPG, and then in the European Journal of Politics and Gender. But it has also been part of the ECPR general meetings, where over the years, diverse topics such as gender regimes, gender-based violence, gender plus frames and framing, intersectional policymaking, and implementation strategies have been debated. Different takes on these and other subjects collaboratively honed, and successful cross-national research projects launched. It has been my privilege to be included among this amazing collaborative process. I know that there are many others who deserve a good share of the honor that's being given to me, and I trust that they will feel themselves included in this recognition. I think that ECPR has benefited greatly from feminist mobilization within its ranks and has been transformed as a result. I cannot take credit for that, but I am very glad to have been able to participate in this process. Thank you all.
The ECPR's Lifetime Achievement Award is an immensely important award. As David said, it began in 2005 when it was awarded to Giovanni Sartori, who was my PhD advisor. And just last round, it went to Jean Blondel. And now, Dick, you're joining a very illustrious group of people. I'm extremely pleased with the jury's decision to grant the award to Dick Katz. And I join with my co-nominators, both Pieter Kopecky and Rudy Andevech at Leiden, myself and Tristan Klingelhofer, who I believe was your latest PhD student. Both of us are now faculty members at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Dick's contribution to the literature on parties, on elections, on democracy has been nothing less than foundational. He has co-authored at least 17 books that I know of, over 130 articles and book chapters, and he has been cited on Google Scholar almost 25,000 times. That is the size of a good university faculty. From the theory of parties and electoral systems in 1980 to democracy and elections in 1997, to Democracy and the Cartelization of Political Parties with the late, great Peter Mayer in 2018. Dick has introduced concepts such as the cartel party that engendered an entire research agenda in political science and still occupy the discipline until today. He's also been a great advocate for international collaboration, for intellectual exchanges. His project on party organization was the first massive comparative attempt that we still refer to up until this day. And David will know better, but I think he had something to do with the other three founding editors in the establishment of the Journal of Party Politics, where in the first volume of that journal, his article with Peter Mayer on the cartel party is, as of at least an AI tool that I use today, the most cited article in the Journal of Party Politics. He has been a tireless supporter of the ECPR. He was the editor of the flagship journal, the European Journal of Political Research. He served on the executive committee. He was the vice chair of the executive committee. I had the pleasure of serving with him for 3 years on that committee. Personally, I have traveled with Dick. Yes, we have been on planes, trains, and automobiles together. I have written with Dick. I have worked with Dick. I have enjoyed every minute of it. I have enjoyed and I have learned from being with Dick. He always treats everyone, including younger scholars, as equals. Dick is truly a scholar and a gentleman. He is extremely worthy of the ECPR's Lifetime Achievement Award. I invite everyone who hears us to join the roundtable at the General Conference in Dublin that will be dedicated to him. And I look forward to celebrating with Dick in Dublin. The first pint of Guinness is on me. Congratulations.
I don't know how I could possibly follow up on what Reuven has just said about me, but I'm going to begin by paraphrasing entirely out of context Daniel Webster and say that I do not propose to fully retire until I'm dead. Nonetheless, I want to use this time, rather than speculating about work that I might do in the future, to record my gratitude to those who've made it possible for me to be here. Most immediately, I obviously want to thank the members of the jury and those colleagues who nominated me. Given the nature of this process, it's impossible not to know that one has been nominated, and knowing that in itself was a considerable honor. But I was still surprised to learn how many nominators there were. To be held in such high regard by one's colleagues is truly gratifying. More generally, I'm grateful to the ECPR, which has been a primary locus of much of my career. No one gets to this point alone. I want to express my respect for and gratitude to the numerous scholars with whom I've worked over the years. But especially I want to remember my dear friend and colleague, Peter Mayer, whom we lost far too early. Looking back, I owe an enormous debt to Rudolf Wildemann, whose Future of Party Government project not only was central in integrating me into the European community of political scientists, but was also the occasion for Peter and me to meet one another. And it was at an ECPR research sessions while Rudolf was chair that the party organization project that Peter and I directed was born. From my graduate school days, my dissertation supervisor, Joseph LaPalambara, along with Sid Taro, gave me entree into the community of Italianisti. And I also want to remember Giovanni Sartori, Robert Dahl, and Douglas Ray, who among them started me thinking about political parties, democratic theory, and electoral systems as one interconnected field of study. Even earlier, as an undergraduate at the University of Michigan, I had the opportunity to work for Don Stokes at the Institute for Social Research. As a result, I was able to meet the PhD students who would become the next generation of leading scholars of American political behavior, as friends and colleagues, rather than as student and teaching assistants. And I'm also grateful to John Kingdon, who, along with an assignment to prove that an infinitely discontinuous function is nonetheless differentiable, provided the discontinuities are of zero measure, a theorem that I did not fully understand then and understand even less now, contributed to my choice of political science rather than mathematics as my undergraduate major. And I also want to remember Don's wife, Sybil, from whom I learned the only place to buy good cheese in the vicinity of Ann Arbor. Last, but far from least, I'm grateful to my wife, Judy, for coding mountains of Italian electoral data, for endless proofreading, not just of my work, but of the many, many articles for the ECPR and before that for the Political Data Yearbook, but most of all for her love and support and her toleration of my frequent conference, research, and teaching jaunts to Europe. And I also want to thank David for having several of my books directly over his shoulder when he made these introductory remarks.
Those books would just happen to be there because alphabetically that's where it goes, Dick. It's not deliberate. So on behalf of the ECPR, I want to thank my fellow jury members and the colleagues who nominated our worthy prize winners. And once again, I want to congratulate our two prize winners, Myra Marx Ferree and Dick Katz. Thank you.